Okay, well, hello. I'm having a rest. I finally finished tearing down my shed. I've only got the wood that the small logs that I put down for the floor to take away now. I don't know if I'll do that tonight or not. I may not. Um, Maybe that'll be a job for tomorrow. I'm pretty tired. I've had a long day. Yeah, mosquitoes. I don't want to swat it on the screen because it'll splat on the screen. Plus, it may make my video go off. Uh, with the touch screen. Anyway, yeah, but it's funny, how things go. I've uh, I've noticed something about human nature, and it's kind of troubling, I would say. But people tend to only see and hear what they want to see and hear. However people want things to be. Not every single person, but a lot of people are like this. I'd say the majority of the so-called normies in society are like this. They want it to be a certain way, and so what they do is everything is proof that it's the way they want it to be. And there are certain realities they don't want to face, and so they just don't hear or see anything that would indicate that that is a reality, you know? I can think of a good example of what I'm talking about, um, how people would do this. When I drove a taxi cab back in 1990, there was a man who worked with us driving a cab. I've mentioned him before. And he was a pedophile. He was actually convicted for sodomizing his 2-year-old son. Shouldn't have been driving a cab at all. The same policeman that gave me a hard time and didn't want to give me a taxi license when at the time I had no criminal record or anything. I have a criminal record now because of a bad situation I got into where I beat a man half to death. After he pulled a gun on me. That was years ago. Put the gun up to my stomach. It was like a hunting rifle, and I just looked him in the eye and said, "Either you're going to shoot me or you're going to put that thing down. Which is it going to be?" And he seemed kind of shocked, and he put it down. And I didn't want him to pick it up again. I didn't want to get shot in the back on my way out. And I also didn't want my fingerprints on it because I didn't know if there were bodies on it or in it or whatever. So I wouldn't touch it. So what I did is he was a small man. This isn't a bragging thing. It's not like I took on some big man or anything. He was a small man in his 60s, and I was in my late 20s. He was a little Somalian. He was a Somalian man. And if you know anything about Somalians, they tend to be very small. They tend to be very small people. And he was also an old man. And so this isn't a bragging thing. I mean, my mom could probably have beat this guy up. But I beat him up pretty severely anyway, and I told him I was going to come back and murder him and his family. And so I got a bunch of charges against me anyway for that. So I do have a record now because of that. But back at that time, I didn't. And the cop that was responsible for issuing taxi licenses in those days with the Perth police, he really dragged his heels. He was not wanting to give me a taxi license. But he issued a taxi license to a convicted pedophile who had sodomized his son, his 2-year-old son. Just give him a taxi license. We had contracts with schools and everything, we were taking kids from schools. There's one little boy, excuse me, there's one little boy I used to pick up at the daycare center in Perth and take him home and whatnot. I mean, we had children in our cars and with no supervision, where it was just the driver and a child, and in many cases, a very small child. The little boy I used to pick up at the daycare center regularly, he wouldn't be much older than the little boy that fella sodomized, that fella's son. Anyway, he got a taxi license and no questions asked, which still baffles me, but especially when they give me such a hard time about it. But anyway, the bottom line is this. This guy, this taxi driver that I worked with, we worked out of a gas station, and the gas station was next door to a convenience store, to like a corner store. And down the street from the corner store and the gas station was an elementary school. And every day at lunchtime, the children would come up from the elementary school with their nickels and their dimes and their quarters to go into the grocery store, into the little convenience store, and of course, to buy candy. This is what children do, if children have a few cents in their pocket, burning a hole in their pocket, they got to go and invest in candy. That's what they do. Anyway, so you see all these little children walking by, and there were times I'd be sitting in there in the office at the gas station reading a newspaper or a book or catching up on my paperwork or twiddling my thumbs or gossiping to whoever else happened to be in there or whatever, talking about who was screwing who or who was drunk downtown the other night or whatever, all that stupidity. And this guy would be standing in the window, because it was a gas station, so with the windows right from the ceiling almost to the floor, all the way around on three sides of the building. This guy would stand in there in the window, and he'd watch the children go by, and he'd make comments about them. And I don't mean comments like, oh, isn't that cute or whatever, not like that. No, he'd make comments like, oh, look at her. She has a nice ass. I'd like to, and then there'd be a whole string of fantasy of what he would like to do with a little child. And I mean like a little 6, 7, 8-year-old child. And I'd be listening to this, and it would really upset me. And there'd be other people in there. There might be 1 or 2 or 3 other people in there, and this was a small area. And I would say to them, do you hear this? Do you hear what this guy is saying? And they'd be like, no, what's he saying? Do you not hear him talking about the kids going by here? No, what's he saying about them? It's like, I could hear it and they couldn't. But you know what it was? See, that's a horrific thing. This was a 28-year-old man, and he was talking about children, little girls, about wanting to have sex with little girls. That's a disturbing thing. Now, in my case, I was disturbed by it, but I've always been the type that whether it disturbs me or not, if it's happening, it's happening. It doesn't matter if it disturbs me or not. I won't pretend it ain't happening. I won't try to pretend that it isn't a thing or whatever. If it's happening, it's happening, and it needs to be addressed, one way or another, especially something like that, and especially this stuff coming out of the mouth of a man who has access to children through his job. And so, taking them in a car. Imagine some guy, whoever out there is listening now who has children. Just imagine when your children were small. If that man was picking them up at school and taking them back to your house in a car. Just them and him. Just a little child, your kid, and this man. Now imagine if you knew what this man had done. Imagine if you knew the things that he was saying when he was looking at the little kids, the little girls going by at lunchtime. You wouldn't want your child in a car with that guy. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want your child in a car with that guy, and I was disturbed about it. I didn't even know what he did to his son at the time. I found that out a little later. But I knew there was something wrong with the guy because of the way he was talking. A normal man doesn't talk about doing those sorts of things with children. A normal man isn't going to notice a little girl's ass. That's not a normal man. That's a guy that's got an issue. And so I would be saying to the others, because I'd want witnesses to it, because I didn't want that guy working with us. I wanted him gone, because of these things he was saying. And like I say, I didn't know what he had done at the time with his son. I found that out later because I knew a lady who worked with social services. And when I said his name, because I was complaining about him to her, and I was telling her about what was going on up there, the things that were happening with this guy. And it wasn't just that, there were other things too. And when I told her, she got this shocked look on her face, and she says, "Oh my God, he's driving a taxi?" And I said, "Yeah, he is." And she said, "Well, he's crazy, and he should not be driving a taxi." And I said, "Well, yeah, I know that." She said, "Oh, no, you don't know how bad it is." And she said, I'm not supposed to tell you this because he has a right to privacy. And I could get into serious trouble if it ever got out that I told you this. And then she told me. I can talk about it now because that lady's long ago retired, and nobody's gonna, what can they do now? you know? And the man I'm talking about is dead. He died a few years back. So he's no longer around either, the one who did all this stuff. But she told me what he did to his little boy, to his 2-year-old son. Now, I had to take him up to the county administration building in a taxi one time so we could have a visit with his son. And he told me on the way up there that it would be a supervised visit and that he would be locked in a room with his 2-year-old son and a social worker. And right there, I thought, well, that's strange, But then you never know. I mean, men get divorced. He was divorced, and I didn't know, maybe his wife made a false accusation against him or something. That was when he first came there, and I kind of felt like there was something off about the guy, and I didn't really care for the guy, but I didn't know the extent of it. I didn't suspect that he was a pedophile at that time. It wasn't until he started making comments about children, which came not too long after that, that I started to really question things about him, say, oh, this is far worse than I thought it was. But the thing is, though, when I would say, do you hear this guy? They'd all be clueless. No. What are you talking about? What's he saying? Do you not hear what he's saying about the children walking by? Do you not hear what he's saying about the little girls? No. What's he saying? It's like, and then I get, why do you pick on John? Why do you pick on John like you do? This is what they'd say to me. And it's like, well, he's talking about, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm hearing this. Anyway, eventually my friend who worked for social services went to my boss and had a private word with him. And then there was no more work for John. He'd come in thinking he was going to work that day, and he'd be told to go home. Then we weren't busy, we didn't need him. And eventually he got the message and stopped coming around. But imagine, though, the police gave that man a taxi license. He's standing there saying this stuff in the window. I hear him, nobody else does. But see, that's the thing. The others didn't want to hear him because it was too horrible. It's just like I've heard people say about different things that have happened, when I'll say, well, that happened for this reason, or it was these people who were behind it, or whatever. I'll be told, well, that's unthinkable. But you can't say that. That's unthinkable. And no matter how much evidence there is to back up what I'm saying, I'll be told I can't say that because it's unthinkable. Well, I heard something back there. Anyway, the bottom line is, this is how people are. It's a thing called cognitive dissonance, and it clouds people's minds. And what we're dealing with right now in the world is like that. There's a lot of people who just won't believe that there's this small group of people who have a lot of power, and they don't wish us well. They say, oh no, that can't be, that would never happen. But it is happening. Just like that man was standing in the window, oogling the little kids, talking about the little girls like that. And I heard it. The others didn't because they didn't want to. It's the same thing, There are some of us who know what's going on, and there are some who just will ignore it. and say, oh, people who think that way are crazy. They're all conspiracy minded. They're tinfoil hats. They don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, no, our government would never do that. The police would never do that. The medical profession would never do that. The politicians would never do that, and so on. And yeah, they would. They would, and they have. Just like that fella that I was working with there, the way he was talking about the children. Just like that. And I heard it, and the people thought I was a nut. Why are you saying this? Why are you, why do you pick on poor John? Well, John ought not to be here. John is a threat to children. He's actually lusting after little kids walking by on the street. What's he going to do if he gets one of them in his car? I don't think we can trust John. That's why I'm being the way I am, Anyway, I don't think anything did happen. I don't think he actually, as far as I know, at least no children that rode in our cars were abused by John. At least I hope they weren't. If they were, I never heard about it. But there again, maybe it wasn't acknowledged. Who knows? It seems to be a thing people do. Anyway, the bottom line is people have selective hearing. People have selective vision. People see what they want to see. It's like the young guy at the club, and he sees a beautiful young girl, and he's attracted to her. He feels drawn to her. And every little thing she does, he interprets as a sign that she's into him. In the meantime, she may not have even noticed them, or if she did, she might have just noticed them and went, no. She might have her eye on some guy on the other side of the room, and he may not be interested in her. But she's interpreting every little thing he does as a sign that he is interested in her, just like the other guy that likes her is interpreting everything she does that way. This is the way people are. Years and years ago, I really liked a woman that I met, and I befriended her. And I was talking to a friend of hers one time, who become a mutual friend, really. And I said to her, I don't really know what to make of some of the things she does and some of the things she says. I can't tell if she's interested or she isn't, And the friend said, well, why make anything out of it? And I said, because I want to. And that was the truth. It was because I wanted to, you see. We all do it to a degree. But, I mean, if it's up in my face, if I'm seeing it and it's really in my face, then I don't do that. And I couldn't really do it with that guy saying the things he was saying. I couldn't pretend that wasn't happening. But yet everybody else in the room could. So that tells me that the majority of the people, if I'm one person now to say 3 people, that means I'm in the minority. I can see it and I'll acknowledge it, but the other 2 people won't. So if there's 3 of us in the room within earshot of this guy, one of us will hear him and acknowledge what he's saying, and the other 2 just won't. They'll just tune it out because it's just too awful to contemplate, And I'll admit it is too awful to contemplate, but if it's the truth, it has to be faced, And that's how I feel about a lot of the things that are happening in the world now. I think they have to be faced. That's all. Anyway, that's it. People have selective hearing and selective vision. We see what we want to. That's what we do. And if it's a horrible thing, most of the people will turn away and pretend it isn't real, rather than to accept it and to process it and to deal with it. We'll talk to you later.